Elaborate on this. Trust isn't a tactic, it's a system. How do you help clients shift from volume, more leads, to better quality, deeper trust, this longer tail?
Yeah, I mean, I really think it comes down to the understanding and conveying that one relationship can change your life. One relationship can change your life and your business, and sometimes it does both. So, this idea of my email list isn't big enough, well, it only takes one of the right people. So you're focused on the wrong metrics here. So,
Mm.
and that's what we believe, and that's what I've seen happen in my life, and I just try to convey that to people. It's definitely a quality over quantity that's worth going slower and more thorough if that allows you to go deeper with the right person.
Welcome, Third Rock listeners, to the Branding Laboratory. I'm your host, Devo, Chief Experience Officer for the Brand Storyteller and the Fusion Creative Brands. And each week, I have the privilege of speaking with extraordinary leaders and entrepreneurs who are reshaping the way industries work. These conversations go way beyond the surface to explore the core philosophies, the lessons, and the challenges that define the brands that we admire today. And one of the greatest rewards of this podcast is the opportunity to share the insights of some of the brightest minds in business, people who are passionate about pushing boundaries and redefining what's possible. And as I always say, the stories we tell are the brands we build. And this show is a testament to the power of that concept. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Branding Laboratory, where branding isn't something that you just bolt on your chest and say, hey, I'm branded. It's something that you actually have to live. Your brand is you, your brand is your message. I'm Devo, and this is not your average branding podcast. On the Branding Laboratory, we like to pull back the curtain. We sit with founders and leaders and creators who are trying to build their brand from the inside out, because I personally believe that who you are as an individual shapes who you are as a professional CEO or leader of your business. And today's guest, he's one of the real ones, like normal. We do a really good job of finding the people who matter and who are adding value to this wonderful little planet that we live on. His name is Jason Wright, and he is the guy you call when your lead generation system needs more than just some basic duct tape. And I can speak a little bit about duct tape because, small story, the first pair of real brand new sneakers I ever had was purchased by my football coach in college, because my dad would not buy me any sneakers and he would give me my two older brothers hand-me-downs. And for the most of my childhood life, my effing sneakers were wrapped in duct tape. And let me just tell you, speaking from experience, that is not good for your confidence for any other thing, but it does build a pretty diehard individual. But that's not how we run our business. We do not duct tape things. We build things, we fix things, we evolve things, we innovate things. And so Jason is the founder of Intentionally Inspirational. It's a digital marketing firm, and he is a digital marketing architect, a man who has helped build over 650 different types of sales funnels with brains, humor, and heart. So we're going to tell some stories on what that means. But he's not here to sell us any fluff, because you know, as on any other show, if you've listened, we do not sell. We talk about what actually moves the needle: branding, automation, systemization, operations, and being the kind of leader that your business can count on. So let's get into it with Jason. I like to talk about the origin story and sort of the moment that you just stopped doing the thing and realized that what you're doing now is actually ultimately a calling for you, right? So when you think about that moment, and I don't know how long ago that was, and you're about to tell me, was that sort of a slow burn? And just let me pause for a minute. For me, and just sort of where I'm going with this question, I used to work in the corporate world straight out of college for many years, right? And it was really quickly in the process where I realized this is not ultimately going to be my final destination. There's something bigger for me. And I was fed up with the semantics and the politics and the bullshit that always was going on in this world. And I eventually was like, you know what? I'm out. And I gave it the Heisman and walked away. So
Yeah.
when you think about your journey from where you were, and you can share this with me, how did you get to where you are now? Was there a moment of disruption that shifted everything? What did you have to do to sort of get to where you are now?
Yeah, so like many people, let's go back to the beginning. I was 14 years old, and my biggest passion at the time was fishing. So originally from Indiana, Indianapolis area, and bass and catfish is what we had there. So yeah, so in Indianapolis, I loved fishing, and we'd get the master catalog from Bass Pro Shops every year. And I remember one year going, "Hey, Mom, you got to see this new gear," and she's like, "I don't need to see anymore. You're not getting any more." You don't understand. You haven't seen the new technology out. And I remember her saying, You have more fishing tackle than any adult that I know, and I'm 14. If you want more, you're going to have to get your own money. Like I'm done. Okay. So we lived in a cul-de-sac, and I literally looked out the front, and I was like, "Yep, yep, and yep." Okay, I got it. Three neighbors never cut their grass. Always looked like the houses were abandoned. It's because they worked a ton of hours. And I had been there for 10 years, so I knew them all really well. A couple door knocks later, I had three clients, 75 bucks a week total, right there. I didn't even have to leave the street. So I picked up those accounts and started making the money, and I would ride my bike up to the sporting goods store and buy whatever I wanted. It was awesome. So fast forward, get through high school, um, about 3 months, 4 months after high school. So I guess it's not even that far. It was in the summer between high school and college. I was changing oil full time, and I was like, "This is horrible. This is horrible. $6 an hour. I stink all the time. Can't get the oil off. I'm not making any money. I hate the people I work with. It's just a really ghetto location. There's always like crime, and so I don't want to do any of this." So my girlfriend at the time, her dad is like, "Have you ever thought about cutting grass?" And I was like, "I've done that before." And I was like, "Well, now I actually have a vehicle and I could do it on a bigger scale. So we'll try." So, anyways, I picked up like 25 lawns in the same neighborhood that I lived in before. And I started doing that. And I was like, "This is great. I've got some time freedom. I can make a lot more money. I don't have to change oil." So I get into college and I'm working for myself and doing the college thing. And I reach a point where I'm like, I either need to add a second crew or I need to like drop out of college or I need to shut this down. I wanted to add the second crew. I'm like, what's going to stop us from keep growing? And all the people around me, my now wife, my girlfriend then, and my parents and her parents, "You need to go get a degree. It's the only path, you know." No entrepreneurs around me. So I caved pretty easily, actually. Got my bachelor's, um, finished up school, and I was in corporate for about 7 years. And I never really wanted to do it. Like you, I didn't play the games. I'm not kissing anybody's butt. I'm not bullshitting people to move ahead. I just want to be promoted based on the things you think matter that don't actually matter, right? So get about 7 years in, and I just reach a breaking point, and I'm like, I'm out. So I need to get my wife on board with this. And I convinced her I was going to start a neighborhood magazine. There's these companies, it was Best Version Media, and they're a good company, but I was going to start a neighborhood magazine and we're going to work for ourselves and it's going to be great. So I got sick of commuting. I got sick of waking up early. I was like, I just want some control over my schedule. Like, that's it. If I can barely scrape by financially, I'm good. I don't want to do this anymore. So I somehow convinced her to get on board, quit my job, went and bought a luxury car the next day with no job. And about 3 months later, I was out of money and made no sales. So I had to ask my mom's sister for help. She gave us
Mm.
money for mortgage for 6 months and then said, after that, if you haven't figured it out, you have to go back to corporate. So I had to go back to corporate another 18 months, but started this business, thought I was going to be a motivational speaker, tried to blog about quitting the 9 to 5, even though I hadn't done so myself, but started discovering on Upwork that people were willing to pay for marketing help in the stuff that I had just learned for myself. And it paid a lot more. And it was a lot more enjoyable for me than the writing I was trying to do. I don't know what I was doing, but uh, so I quit corporate a second time and I've been doing this like 6 or 7 years full time ever since. Big happy accident.
So this digital marketing architecture that you've built, tell me a little bit about exactly what you do and who you
Yeah.
work with, and most specifically, what problems are you solving for the clients you work with?
Yeah, I mean, email marketing is not new technology, right? It's 25 years old at this point. So we really built the business on the back end to the funnels, I call it. So helping with the CRM, the email marketing, getting it set up, educating people, supporting them. And we still do that. We also do a lot with lead nurture, whether it's Facebook ads or even go webinar funnel and all this stuff, because it all matters. It's all really important. And we really service like high ticket service based entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, real estate investors, people that have their own masterminds, things like that. So I try to do it in a language that people understand. I'm pretty nerdy with it, pretty good with it, but generating leads, nurturing leads, and kind of letting people know that's really more of a just a relationship building and maintaining than anything else.
I'd like to talk about that for a minute, if I may. So I've dabbled in paid advertising. I've been blessed enough that I have a really good network, and so most of my business survives on referrals and things of that nature, repeat business. So thank you for all of that, universe. But one of the things I have explored in some of my different areas, and I'm in my fourth business now. I spent a lot of money on Google as a small business owner, and it just ended up being a waste of money for me. And I always sort of wonder, is that because I just didn't, I'm not a big guy and the little guy shouldn't be playing in that sandbox, or was it the person that I hired just didn't really know what they were doing? Is there some, can you share some insights on like whether if we're an entrepreneur and we're looking to spend money in a paid advertising vector, as entrepreneurs, does it make more sense to play in the Google sandbox, the Facebook, Instagram sandbox? Now LinkedIn's doing paid advertising. Can you sort of share some insights on that space with me?
Yeah. So with Google and pay per click, it's really search based. So if you're a chiropractor, probably makes sense to do that. If you're an online coach, probably not. The other platforms you mentioned are going to be more focused on interruption based marketing. So people don't go to Facebook to shop per se, right? But if you catch their eye with an ad about your thing, your webinar, your event, or whatever, and you're targeting the right people and the message halfway makes sense, it might pique their interest. So it's a very different environment. The mindset of people is different between Google and the other options, but the same people are in both places. Does it make sense to just run paid ads to try to build a business? Not really. I think the best thing to do is find an offer that works, an offer you can fulfill and you can sell again and again, and then paid ads can help fuel that again, more eyeballs on that. I think a lot of people get involved with them too soon and they don't have any idea who they're targeting or what they're selling. And at that point, it's a huge waste of money. It does cost more money than you think to get results. Like if you have this idea that I'm going to figure it out in 30 days or I'm going to be rich tomorrow and the ads go live, that's not how it works. So
Mm.
it takes time for the different algorithms to get data and you make adjustments to get data again. So Facebook's probably, so Facebook, Instagram, it probably is still king as far as their algorithm, the amount of users and the targeting. So there's definitely a learning curve and it changes all the time. So it's perceived a low barrier for entry, but it's harder than it looks for sure.
Let me ask you a question, and this is not a promotional plug, but I just recently launched my own retreat, and it's scheduled November 3rd to November 7th in Mexico. And
Yeah,
one of the ways we're exploring right now is we're trying to figure out how to get this in front of the right audience.
yeah.
So it's limited to only 40 people, and we've already got quite a few that have signed up. But if I really wanted to target in an advertising perspective for that,
Yeah.
do you have any sort of ideas on how you would best optimize that for us?
Is it appropriate for me to ask you the cost of the retreat?
Yeah, 100%. It's a $3,500 retreat. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's for people who are serious about building their business and building their professional lives and are really looking to find ways to start surrounding their circle and enhancing the circle of people they engage with on a personal and professional level.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I would do is start my targeting by income, which is one beautiful thing about Facebook. So you can target the top 5, top 10% of income earners as your first criteria. That's a great way because then you cut the people out that can't possibly afford it because what a waste of your advertising budget.
Got
So
it.
yeah, start there, narrow it down. I'm not I'm a very direct guy, as you can probably gather. I'm a nice guy, but I'm direct. Same thing with my marketing, my language all sounds the way I speak. If you read what I'm writing, you're like, it sounds like Jason. So with my ads, I'm direct. I'm gonna give you a little hook, but I'm not some like, showboat guy who's trying to model Russell Brunson and be like everybody else out there who's been doing it for 6 months. So I actually talked to a guy the other day that said he was an expert and he had been doing this just shy of 90 days. And I was like, okay, cool.
It always fascinates me, and I've been an entrepreneur now full time since 2010. It fascinates me, and I'm not denigrating this. Please, for those of you who are listening and you're new entrepreneurs and like, who are you to tell me not to try my craft? I'm not saying that, but I do hear what you're saying on this whole idea of like, are you an expert? And this whole idea that the market that we live in now with social media and access to web and digital products and now fucking AI,
Yeah.
everybody has overnight become an expert in their craft. But there's still a lot of, how do I say this without offending people? There's a lot of fraudsters out there selling nonsensical solutions
Yeah.
because they sort of picked up on it in a webinar of themselves, then suddenly they decided to sell. It's like I used to be I still own a photography agency, and for many years, and I don't do too much time in that space anymore, but for many years, especially in 2008 when the market crashed, overnight the list of professional photographers in Charlotte literally grew by like 400% because everyone was like, "Oh my God, I can go out to Best Buy, get a digital camera, put it on auto, and just pray and spray," type of thing.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many horror stories in my years as a full-time photographer I would get from clients who would come to me and be like, "We went with the cheaper deal. We found somebody on Craigslist. We hired my Uncle Larry, blah blah blah, and we just completely got fucked over on it. Is there something you can do to fix this?"
Yeah.
And that goes and sorry, so I'm going somewhere with this. Is like, how do we as consumers not get fooled by the people who are actually real at what they do, professional at what they do, experts at what they do, and not be fooled by these fraudsters who are claiming to be experts and coming in and providing the same solution that you've devoted your life to building.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's simple as obviously if you can't meet somebody in person, when I get on a new business call, I'm always on camera, whether they are or not, because people are going to read you pretty damn quick, and it doesn't take long to talk to me to go, I don't think this guy's full of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't claim to know everything, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to deliver more than I promise. I'm going to answer all your questions, which you're going to have a lot more of than you think. I'm going to train you. I'm going to support you. And that piece, that support piece is all the difference in the world. All of my team that's client facing is based in the US, right? If you've ever worked with somebody overseas who you cannot understand or does not understand what you're talking about, it's nothing more frustrating in the world. And I
Mm-hmm.
do have an overseas team, but they're not client facing. So just
Mm-hmm.
little things that I can set up differently matter a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of new client time on the first conversation is a bit of a therapy session. People come in with pain. I can see the pain in their eyes and hear it in their voice, and they'll tell me about how they were burned. And I go, you know what? You're not alone. Every single person I talk to has a similar story. Hell, I've got a similar story. And it makes them, it takes the shame and the pain and turns it into, okay, this is normal. So, because digital marketing has a perceived low barrier for entry, that's kind of part of what I signed up for is that therapy session.
Mm. Dude, you and I are like doppelgangers, both physically and emotionally, in terms of how with the exception of I'm not in hiding. You're still in hiding, which was the dark camera you have going on. So I'm just joking. But there's so many things. I actually, if you could see my office, I have this big black sofa, and I work out of my home, and I will actually have my first client meetings if they're local to Charlotte. I have them come to my home, and I literally joke, and I'm like, all right, lay down on the sofa. We're going to start our therapy session now, right now. So but I'm different from most therapists. I don't have a clock hitting
Yeah.
60 minutes and I'm done. Like I used to go, I've been through a lot of therapy. And one of the things that drives me absolutely bonkers is the therapist always looking up at the clock. Oh, 60 minutes, your time is up. So, anyway, sidebar on that. In terms of who you are as an individual, when you're not building these funnels, when you're not working with clients in terms of helping them optimize their visibility with what you do, I always sort of love this question, and I ask everyone the same question. What drives the way you lead? Who are you as a leader? What does that term leader mean to you as a CEO, as a father, as a husband, whatever those things? What does leadership mean to you?
Yeah, and I'm glad you said those other two things, because I was just going to say this is how I try to be a father and a husband as well. But I'm simple, right? I'm not going to beat you down and scream at you and swear at you because my kids are 19 and 14. They don't need that shit. Like those days are gone, right? They know right and wrong and all that, but I lead by freaking example, right? My son just had an interview to get in with the Navy as a civilian to work on nuclear subs here yesterday.
Oh, wow.
We've been prepping for this for 18 months, and Wednesday, I'm like, you got your outfit ready for tomorrow. Nah, I'll worry about it later. I was like, wrong answer, son. You're gonna go deal with it now. But I'm the same way. Like important things, we're gonna be ready. We're gonna be early. We're not screwing around. But I'm not on the couch barking at people or barking at my team. I'm in front of you doing the thing already. So
Mm,
that servant leadership, it sounds played out from corporate, but it's so true. Lead by example, and really my job is to see how I can support my family and my team. Like, what do you need? What are your resources? It's not about me. They just happen to work with me and I own the company. So I explain it in a very flat structure from my director of business ops to my executive assistant. We're all on the same level. We're just
mm,
people. I just happen to control the finances and stuff like that. But I'm gonna do anything I can to make you successful. And if you're not happy with something, we'll take it away from you. I'm not gonna make you do something you don't want to do. So we'll either hire somebody else or just not do it anymore. So it's simple, but a lot of people don't do it that way.
Well, it's simple, but the nuances or the output of that simplistic approach are complicated because I don't think a lot of people do understand this. And I have two daughters, two teenagers, 19 and 16. And I actually coach my daughter's 16-year-old women's lacrosse team, their high school team. And we had a huge game yesterday. It was a playoff game, win, go home. You know the whole thing.
Yeah.
And she pulled herself out of the game early because she's like, Dad, my head's just not in the game. And I was like, and I said to her, I said, you need to figure out how you can lead in this moment right now. And she's like, I'm not a leader. I'm not captain. And I was like, let's literally on the sideline having this conversation. And I said, leadership is not always a badge or a title. Leadership is how you're going to show up on the field right now and lead by example so that your peers and your teammates can see you showing up. Whether it's getting after a ground ball, whether it's throwing yourself into a crowd to shuffle to get that loose ball, whether it's staying on the field in the heat of the game, even though we're getting our asses kicked. Leadership comes in many sizes, shapes, and colors. And I think a lot of people don't view it that way. It's sort of like, if I'm not the CEO, if I'm not the captain, if I don't have that badge that says it, then I don't have an obligation to that. And I couldn't completely disagree with that more. And it sounds like you agree with me on that space. But I'm curious, were you always this way? Yes, you were an entrepreneur. By the way, I had a lawn business as well. So we are actually doppelgangers. Um, and I didn't even know I was an entrepreneur, right? I was just sort of like, that's seems like the natural thing to do. I'm poor. My dad won't give me money. I'm going to find a way to make some money, right? And
Yeah.
so, necessity is the creature of invention. So, but as an individual, you, Jason Wright, were you always sort of fortuitous around being a leader and this sort of support, lead by example, or was this a slow matriculation over time and lessons and failures that sort of brought you to the point that you are today?
Oh man, I failed more than anybody you've ever met. So no, I wasn't always this way. You become an output of your environment. And in college, I remember I kicked it to the end of senior year. I was a 5-year graduate, commuter college, and speech was the scariest thing in the world. And I don't remember anything about the speech. I remember like people cheering and stuff. And like, that was great. What are they talking about? And eventually I learned, I think maybe early in corporate when I got out of college, that when I speak, people listen. I don't know why that is, but they do.
It's that deep baritone voice you have,
Well,
man.
I'm 6'4" and I'm, a pretty big guy. And
You're the white Barry White.
you want me to sing to you, Devo?
Can you croon, man? Can you croon?
But it's like people pay attention. So I was like, that's interesting. So I'm confident, people always think I'm like in the military or law enforcement. I'm not either. I just have that way about me. So if I have the gift of getting people's attention, I need to use that.
Mhm.
So no, have I always been this way? No, but when I get into a situation where I feel like it's spiraling out of control, and this has happened in business many times, and I'm like, I just take nothing but losses daily, I eventually get pissed off. When I get pissed off, we get shit done. I either am happy or pissed. Those are my two moods. And when I'm pissed, it's usually in business, and then we start taking massive action to get shit done. So, not that I always don't take big action, but I get ultra aggressive with stuff, and it seems to work really well. Funny what you said. I have a daughter who's 14 in volleyball, and she just had her last tournament of her travel club season in Atlanta last weekend. And she got really, really loud on the sideline in one of the games. There's 50,000 people there. It's an enormous Nike sponsored event.
Jeez.
And I could hear her screaming, and I was looking over there, and I was like, oh, she finally took my advice to use her voice. Not a team captain. Her teammates weren't talking to each other. They weren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. I told her, I said, hey, you're the loudest white girl I've ever met in my life. The girl's got volume like you wouldn't believe. She's loud, has been her whole life. I said, take advantage of that. I said, you got enough of me and you. Be confident. You better be doing what you're telling them to do, but get them, you know what I mean? And she finally used her voice. So I'm like, that's awesome to see. But again, I'm not telling her to do something she can't do. So,
We talked about this leadership concept, and I'm curious because I was having this conversation with my wife the other day, and it was sort of stemming from raising our children and some disappointment on a projection and an expectation on a result that didn't materialize the way they thought it would. And I said to my daughter, and my wife kicked in, honey, life is not a linear line. It is a squiggly ass motherfucker with bumps and U-turns and shutdowns and walls and closed roads. And it's like, and it's how you respond in those moments, right? It's like How do you respond? Because we always have a choice in how we respond, right? We can't control what we can't control, but we can control what we can control. And I was like, you're in a situation right now where you have a choice in how you respond. You can fold or you can double down, right? You can get angry like Jason does, and you can double down and find a way out of this. And it is true, right? Like it's a squiggly motherfucker. Like there are so many situations that don't turn out how we thought they would. And they're all sort of based upon these beliefs we hold about something, this context that we either learned from our parents or the experiences we had. And I love to sort of hear your take on beliefs that you had early in your career as a professional adult, married, maybe having children, working. What are some of the beliefs that you feel you have outgrown about life and philosophies from where you were to where you are now on that squiggly trajectory?
Yeah, a couple things come to mind. One, life isn't fair. Whoever told us that was just making shit up to shut us up as kids. It's not fair at all.
Mm,
So get that out of your mind. The world doesn't owe you anything. Hard truth. The other thing is, I've changed the way that I think about this and changed the way I teach my kids. I'm going to judge you on your effort, not your outcomes.
love that.
Seriously. I mean, if you, like I tell my daughter, I told her the other day, I don't say much to her during volleyball. We'll look at each other, no movements, but thoughts exchanged through our eyes, that type of thing. Or if she's serving and gets an ace, I'll be like, again, I've got a big loud voice, but I don't say much. But, uh, they get their butt kicked after a game. I'll say, gas pedal down, give it hell, and however it ends, it ends. And you're going to walk away knowing I didn't like the way it ended, but it's not because I didn't try. I gave it everything I had. So, if you have that approach, you will find that you will win maybe not as much as you want, but more than you expect, if that makes sense. And another thing, I guess the final point here is nothing happens as fast as you think it will.
Mm,
I was not a patient guy when I started this business, but I've become more patient because I don't have a choice. The
hmm
timeline's not up to me.
hmm
I'm a crypto trader and I've been waiting for this bull run to kick in for 6 months. I think it's just now starting, but I can't control the timeline. All I control is the patience behind it. So there you go.
You asked me, or I asked you, and you responded when I was asking about the advertising in Google versus Facebook on
Yeah,
who my avatar is, like who am I trying to target? You are the type of individual we're trying to target for this retreat,
yeah.
just sort of in this space. I have spent, and I don't sell that as a sales pitch. Well, maybe I am. Sidebar. We'll talk
You
after.
liar.
Where I'm going with this question is I have spent a copious amount of time in the last 5 years changing my circle
Yeah,
and the people that I surround myself with. And from hiring coaches to finding mentors to just my collaborative and in the people that I work with, the people that take me on and hire me as their coach.
yeah,
And I spent a really, really long time trying to figure out what that was and who I was and how I showed up in the world and all these things. And I realized that very quickly the more I started to surround myself with these, what I call star seeds, people who are actually doing something with their life and looking for something and have purpose and meaning and want to add depth, and they're not just here to make a dollar. I started seeing that affect me and the type of people that I was, the type of person I was becoming, and the type of output in my life. My relationships changed. My 5 year relationship with a woman who was just not good for me changed. Met the woman of my life right now, like my relationship with my children, all these sorts of things. And I think a lot of times people forget that being running a business and running your life are sort of go hand in hand. Like you are who you are, and
yeah.
who you are as an individual is going to show up how you run a business, right?
Yep.
And so I spend a lot of time on building me as a person and building and fixing the things that just don't work out. When you look at yourself as a human and an individual and you're very deep and you have all these great insights and wisdom and great experience, when you look at who you are as an individual, what did you have to change personally to become who you are today? What were some of the shadows that you were dealing with early in your life that you had to fix? Whether as a parent, whether as a partner, whether as a CEO, have you ever reflected on that exercise?
Yeah, I guess the one thing I would say is just the people that are around me. And a lot of times it's, neighbors, family, friends, when I was getting started, who are really negative about why it wouldn't work out. Just stop talking to those people. Right. And I would talk to them about the weather or stupid shit that didn't matter. But I'm not going to talk to you about business if you've never run a successful lemonade stand. It's just a waste of my time. So that's probably the biggest thing. And entrepreneurship can be a lonely journey, but I'm born for it, man. I'm a weirdo. I'm fine with it. And it doesn't hold me back. So yeah, I mean there's people that I spend time with now, calls like this, where other people get it, and that's nice. A lot of the other people who were telling me what I couldn't do back in the day are still doing the same thing now that they were doing then. So
Mhm.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing.
Entrepreneurship does not have to be lonely. I figured that out, and I not that I have the secret sauce to it, but I said a minute ago how I've spent a dubious amount of time curating my circle. I want to connect with you further after this call because I have some things that may be of interest to you. I've launched a mastermind that's now in its eighth month. It's surrounded by people like you and I, people
Yeah.
who believe in something bigger. And I do believe that if you can find this circle, even if it's just one or two people, if you can find the people that you can connect with that are weirdos like you, it really does add value to your life. I mean, in so many compounding ways, and I can't even tell you how many different success stories I have been able to cultivate because of my circle. So, anyhow, in terms of what you do, because you're sort of like a process efficiency guru in terms of getting, whether it's working with funnels or working with paid advertising or different pieces, you're enabling people to be seen by a larger audience, right? And one of the things that I've learned in my process of running my businesses is that it's all about systemization and optimization and like operationally making sure that your businesses can be systematized, automated where possible, dealing with the minutia, et cetera. What are your sort of insights that you like to share with us on building a business? If somebody who's a new entrepreneur has a genius idea, but they just don't know where to begin. What would you say to them if you were sitting there talking to them right now? Where do they begin? What should you be focusing on? What should you be spending your time on? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, in today's world, so you're really talking about testing a new offer. I like Grok for testing offers because Grok will tell you if there's demand for what you're wanting to do right now and what the price point should be. And it's really, really amazing for how fast you can get good offers around. And then you want to find, you can use your network or your friends or whatever you got and see if you can find somebody who's willing to pay for your offer that doesn't exist yet. So selling something before it exists, getting people to say, I want in, how do I sign up before you build anything is really a good idea. I can't tell you the amount of programs and masterminds and courses I've built thinking people would love it, and then it was crickets because I didn't have the market tell me they wanted it first. So
Hmm.
that is a piece of what I do. I think the easiest way to get started is business services. Honestly, there's so many different things that business owners will pay for. You don't need to invent something new, but you put your spin on it, your voice on it, and that makes it unique.
Being able to solve a unique problem in a unique way.
Yep.
I'd like to have an additional conversation with you, and I'm going to get my partner Nick involved because I think it's worth our time to have at least a conversation with you on how we might be able to work with you in an advertising perspective for this retreat. I'm interested in learning more from that, so
Sure.
hopefully you'll be interested in that. In terms of in terms of your mental operating system, because we just talked about optimizing your business, systematizing things where you can, automating things. As a CEO in your mental operating system, how do you prioritize the things that matter the most?
Yep. New or revenue, new business, that's number one. Current clients, number two. Past clients, number three. So I'm very sales focused. My role in the company is going to be sales and marketing, training the team and stuff, but they're also able to train each other, which is great. That doesn't happen overnight. But yeah, no revenue, no business. So that's a powerful lesson and something that is critical to keep at the front of your mind. I can't tell you the amount of people I've seen go out of business because they have these great fluffy ideas, but they don't make any sales ever, so they run out of money.
You said something that I just want to call out because I think that's worth sort of driving into a little bit more. Um, Past clients, I think was your number three. Is that what I heard you say? I don't know the exact metrics, but it's somewhere around 20 to 25% more costly to find new business
Yeah,
than to nurture and cultivate your existing business.
yeah,
And I don't think a lot of people pay much attention to that. And present company included many years ago in my
yeah,
other business, I sort of like in my, I'm going to use my photography business. I'd get you, I'd book you, I'd service it. And I was like, all right, next one. And I didn't really spend any because I just never really understood the concept of not the fractional piece of the money, the revenue side. I just never really understood of like, okay, I'm a photographer and they had their wedding or they had their session with me. Like, what else is there to that? Let me move on to the next person. But what I didn't realize is that if I had spent time cultivating them, they're going to have families someday, right? They're going to have friends. They have a network. Who are they going to refer me to? How do I stay front and center, top of mind with them? And that's now what I spend. Actually, existing business is near the top of my priorities. Just so, since we're having this conversation, can you speak to that whole concept of nurturing existing clientels and why it's so critically important to small businesses to pay attention to that little piece?
yeah. I mean, if somebody spends $1 with you, they're 10 times more likely to spend more money with you. So that repeat business piece is, can be a huge part of your revenue stream for sure. What I was saying is my days now. So we're on kind of the last year's kind of been a downtrend for business. I'm perfectly fine talking about it. And I think we've made some adjustments where it's about to go the other way.
Mm.
So, but in that season, it's very important that I keep revenue flowing. So keeping my eyes on, how to get new people into my world is great. We do resell old clients on different offers, and they come back for more of the same stuff like that as well. But having that repeat business and that referral business is huge, and it is really helpful. And if people aren't doing that at all, they're missing out on a good piece for sure.
Do you have any insider tips on some of the things that you're doing that people might be able to learn from in terms of uh, holding on and sustaining a long-term relationship with the client? Are there things that you specifically would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep talking to them, right? It's like any relationship in life you care about, and people are so bad about sending newsletters, call it whatever you want to, right? What's going on here now in your business? And if you reach out to your audience once a month, it's not enough,
Mm.
right? Two, 3 times a month is probably a good range. It doesn't need to be every week, but people forget about you very quickly because we're all getting bombarded with information all day long, every day for the rest of our life. So if you have a YouTube, community, if you have a school group, if you have a podcast, getting these clients and these people in all the places that you are, as many as you can, is helpful because then everything you create becomes nurturing or keeping that relationship alive.
On the other side of that coin, there is information overload. There is such a thing as like receiving too much information from
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
So, in a sea of sameness, how do you stand out, provide information, stay front and center, email, whatever it is,
yeah.
but not overload that? Like, what's that balance for you?
My approach is ultra conversational, unapologetically authentic, is what I say. So a lot of what I'm sharing is just stories and a lot of
Yeah.
failures. People love hearing about your failures. We're sick as a species, aren't we? People
Mhm.
love that stuff, man.
That's
So
how reality TV was born.
it is. So I'll usually have some kind of a hook, get their attention, tell them a story, and then have a something to think about, whether it's I want a response or not. And then there might be some light opportunities for them to look into something new. But I don't pitch a lot in emails. I'm just talking. I'm just talking like I'm talking to you now, and I find a way to do it so it's entertaining. So when in doubt, you can educate, but when in doubt, you can also entertain with your content. And hell, I have a cigar channel on YouTube, and all I do is drink bourbon and smoke cigars and talk about business like 20% of the time. And I get more people into my world through that than any other way. It's like nobody wants to hear about more marketing strategies. I sure as hell don't, because it's all kind of the same. So, yeah, just being yourself and keeping the conversation going goes a long way, but people won't do it. There's always an excuse. I don't have time. You have time. It's just not important.
I firmly believe that the society that we are now living in, never before have we been more insecure, more less confident,
Yeah.
more disabled to share our transparent, vulnerable selves because we've been overloaded with so much fraud and so much imposter and so much bullshit and this constant pervasion of people like showing how great their life is. And we're like, fuck, I don't have any of that stuff. And most of that stuff isn't even real. It's just like posturing. Like I can speak from experience because I used to date an influencer that every single one of these photos that we set up that she did was not real. We were not doing any of these things. They were recycled content. They were set up. They were people that were put in place. There was cars that didn't belong. And I'm just like, I cannot do this anymore. This is just not the life I can live. This is all fraud to me. I need to move out of this space. So, yeah, it is an interesting paradigm to be an entrepreneur because never before have we had more opportunity, but never before have we also looked the same, sound the same, because there's everybody else trying to do and sell the same thing. So it's really important what you just said. Show up as who you are, man. The
Yeah.
people who dig with you, the people who vibe with you, they're gonna find that and they're gonna resonate with that. And you're not trying to be all things to all people. Like be who you are. It's really
Yeah.
critical. And I love that you said that. You said you're not the guy who sits still. And I don't know if I saw that in a form or your website or something that you submitted. How do you balance the builder's drive, this builder's drive with this need for stillness and clarity and purpose? And where I'm going with that is like mindset for me is really important. How do you calm your mind? How do you stay balanced? How do you not overreact to situations? So can you share with me a little bit about this builder's drive, but also this ability, this balance that you found?
Yeah, I mean, I believe like you, everything begins and ends with mindset. It's super important. And I know when my mind's dialed in, good luck stopping me. It's not going to happen. So only I can stop me, or I can die and I'll be stopped then. But other than that, no one's going to stop me doing anything I want to do. Where do I get a break? That's the nice thing about cigars, man. If I'm smoking
Huh.
a cigar, I'm not in the house, right? I might have a phone in my hand, but I'm next to the pool with bourbon, watching the banana trees sway. It's good. It gives you an hour to completely unplug. It's phenomenal. When I'm at the gun range, when I'm hunting, when I'm fishing, those are the things I do to get my mind into a different place. If I'm not doing those things, and let's say tomorrow, Saturday, I got shit to do, man. Got grass to cut. I'm always productive because tomorrow's not promised,
Hmm.
right? Tomorrow's not promised, and if I'm not here, who else is going to get this shit done anyway? But it's all the everything I do around the house to me, I look at it as instant gratification. I love cutting grass because when I'm done, I'm like, bam, yard looks good. Feel good about it. I got something done, right? So this whole thing where people will take off a day and binge watch a season, I've literally never done that in my life. I'll never do that. What a waste of a day. I can't even, it makes me feel like I need to go take a hot shower even talking about it. I don't do shit like that. So, and my kids, if they're busy, but like when they're taking a day off and they want to like lay in bed on their phone all day, I'm like, we're not doing that. Nope. Nope. Not doing it. So it makes me feel worthless to do that. And if other people do it, it's cool. I'm not judging anybody, but Jason doesn't lay around ever. Just don't do it. I don't enjoy it. There's no joy in that for me. So,
So
and I,
how do you avoid exhaustion? The cigars, the bourbon?
yeah, I mean, you definitely have your moment, especially like in this last year where you're just burned out mentally or whatever. But a good night's sleep goes a long way, man. You get a good night's sleep and you wake up feeling like a brand new person. So, I'm not perfect. It's not easy every day, but yeah, I don't like vacations, man. I can't. You want to go like my wife would love to go down Florida a little bit, lay on the beach for a week. I got about 4 hours in me on the beach and I'm out of my mind, bro. I'm like, I got shit to do. I don't want to sit on this beach.
I am so similar in that regard.
I
I'm a
can't do
4 day vacationer, man. Anything beyond 4 days, forget about it. I'm like, been there, done that scene. I will tell you this, however, if I get to travel internationally and go to a really cool country, and I've been blessed to do that, I don't mind like traveling where not where the tourists are, but I like spending time learning the culture and like immersing myself and going to really small towns. I could do more 4 days of that, but like typical stuff, just going to the beach, forget about it, man. I'm 4 days max, and I'm like, let's fucking go home. I'm out of this
that.
space.
Now, if
Um,
you went to the beach and there's nobody there, that's cool. But like crowds and stuff, man, I just, ugh,
I don't
no.
do them. I don't do them either. I'm the worst in that. I just can't. I just can't handle it. I learned something interesting a few years ago. This whole idea of like we're just energy vectors. Like everything's just energy. Yeah, you're familiar with this. You're nodding your head. And when you start to feel overwhelmed or just sort of like overload, it's because that energy vector is like you it's like consuming, and it's like yeah, I'm very small, limited quantities. I learned I'm an ambivert. I like to be around people to a very small amount, and then I got to come home and just completely like decompress for hours before I can do it again. So, your zone of genius. I want to switch gears in our last 15 minutes or so, if that's okay with you. This zone of genius is something that I talk about with a lot of people. What you're good at, what you're able to add value with, and how you're able to serve a larger population who need that solution, right? And you've built systems that sell. I'm curious what your philosophy is as it pertains to your zone of genius and integrity, because I think a lot of times, and I'm not speaking from a lot of experience, but in speaking to a lot of my clients, funnels, paid advertising, it gets a bad rap. Like there's a lot of wasted time, energy, money on paid advertising because it's such a huge game that you have to sort of be involved in terms of how you run your business and your zone of genius. How do you mix that with your personal integrity and sort of staying honest and true to your core, but also to your clients?
Yeah. Well, integrity is one thing that's probably the strongest trait I have. Like I'm not a fake it till you make it guy. I'm not a bullshitter. I don't flex and embellish. So I don't do any of that. I'm always the same and always authentic everywhere. But Um, when you said what you said about funnels, like we all have more funnels than we realize. It doesn't all have to be with a funnel builder or whatever. You have some process of bringing people into your world, keeping them going, and then if people become buyers, there's opportunities for them to buy complementary things if they want to or whatever. So yeah, so I think I'm just super honest with if something makes sense or not. I mean, I can't tell the amount of people like I want to buy this, and I'm like, let's talk about it. I'm like if I'm you, I'm not buying this. You're not ready, or it's not the right fit for your company. So I'm not going to sell something for the sake of making money. It's got to make sense. And I'm just really an open book with people. Like my sales styles, I'm going to let you know what's available. If you want to know the price, I'll tell you, take it or leave it. Like I'm not going to try to convince you to do it now. I'm not selling timeshares. That's not my core. I basically cater my style to what I want, right?
Mm,
If you try to push me to buy something, it ain't gonna happen. It's got to be my idea. It's never gonna work. Door to door doesn't work on me. I'm gonna get pissed off, and things are gonna get scary for you quite quickly. So
mm,
you get one warning. But it's like the same way. So, getting people on that new business call, I can see who are you and what are you trying to do? This is what I do. Do I think there's alignment? Yeah, or there's not. Like if you want to sell candles, that's awesome. I'm happy for you, but you're not going to hire me. There's nothing I can do for you and give you a return on candle sales. It ain't going to work. That's why it's high ticket business services because I know who my people are, who this is going to make sense for us. And I'm
mm.
totally comfortable turning away candle businesses all day because it's not going to make sense. Even if they're like, here's my credit card, I don't want it because you're not going to be happy with me in 3 months or 6 months. So,
Love that. Elaborate on this. Trust isn't a tactic, it's a system. How do you help clients shift from volume, more leads, to better quality, deeper trust, this longer tail?
yeah, I mean, I really think it comes down to the understanding and conveying that one relationship can change your life. One relationship can change your life and your business, and sometimes it does both. So this idea of my email list isn't big enough, well, it only takes one of the right people. So you're focused on the wrong metrics here. So
Mm.
and that's what we believe, and that's what I've seen happen in my life, and I just try to convey that to people. It's definitely a quality over quantity that's worth going slower and more thorough if that allows you to go deeper with the right person.
Most people look at a guy like you, and again, I'm just operating from this conversation we've had right now and what I read about you and what I've researched on you. He's built, he's made it, but you've talked openly about doubt, fear, imposter syndrome. How do you keep going when voices in your head sort of matriculate on like, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, how can I be like him? How do you sort of manage that piece?
Yeah, I mean, in my head, I remember having monthly and annual revenue goals, and I was like, I don't know if I'll ever hit them. And March of 23, I hit both of them in 2 weeks, and I was like, whoa. And that's a weird experience, right? Like 3 days of I don't know what to do now. So then, like, the only way I was able to move forward was it doesn't actually feel any different than it did before. So in my mind, or the quiet space is, I tell myself I haven't done anything.
Mm,
You're always going to be at square one because if you're not and you reach your destination, what's on the other side of that's terrifying. It's the
mm,
now what? I don't want the silence. I don't want to sit down and relax. So I've got to tell myself, you haven't done anything, keep going. So I'm going to keep going until I die. And that's
mm.
not a bad thing. It makes me very happy. It's not a I'm trapped by this thing. So um yeah, it's a little different, but the other thing is everybody needs to remember all things in life have a price.
Mm.
As an entrepreneur, I mean, hell, neither one of us have any hair in our head at all. Um, I mean, everything's got a price. So, if it's wealth you want or it's this or that, you can get it, but at what cost? Are you willing to pay that cost? So,
Mm. Cause and effect, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm curious. You're a father. I'm a father, and I'm fascinated by parenting. It's something I take very, very seriously. I have two wonderful daughters, and now I'm a stepfather to three amazing children from my wife. And I've always taken fatherhood very seriously because I felt very slighted by my father in the sense that he never spent any time with me. There was no mentorship. It was just constant abuse. And I never could really understand how, as a man, you created this or you were responsible for creating this, that you could so easily turn away from that and not understand the moral obligation, the physical responsibility, the emotional depth that you have been charged with adding to your children, but you took it so lightly or you took it so abusively. How has fatherhood changed the way you view the world, the way you view relationships, the way you view your business? What do you think fatherhood? And I'm interested in this, and I work with a lot of men, so this is a question really near and dear to my heart. How fatherhood has changed the way you lead and build.
Interesting question. I have a theory on why people do what you said. Can I tell you what it
I
is?
would love to hear it, man. It's a perpetual quest of discovery I've been trying to figure. My dad is no longer with us. He passed away.
I never had a solid father figure, and I grew up in an abusive home too. I was
Yeah.
my father figure.
Fucking crazy, right? Isn't it?
Here's the reason they do it. They're lazy. It's easier to do that shit than to actually do what's right. I mean, it's literally laziness. They can make up all the excuses they want. It's just a lack of effort.
Interesting.
Think about it. So, well, how's fatherhood changed me? Patience. And also, like with my son, we get along well now. He's a good dude. We didn't for a long time. He's a pretty challenging kid to raise, but you put in all these lessons and you do all this stuff for years and years and years and years, and in that case, there's no fruit to show for it. And then
Hmm.
finally, you see fruit after 19 years. You're like, holy shit! Like,
They are listening.
yeah, consistency, it can take a lot longer than you think to pay off. So that patience piece is really big. I think the consistency with your message is really big. And the other thing, it's just the most fascinating thing. Same parents, two different kids,
Hmm.
right? Every kid is like they get a bit of you, they get a bit of the mother, or each parent, and then they get a big chunk of themselves. And that's the fascinating kind of that X factor. You go, man, where'd you get that from? That's kind of
Mm.
cool.
It
So
is pretty cool to see that happening and matriculate
yeah.
finally. My two children are completely different, so I fully appreciate that statement you said earlier. I want to add to that, if I may. I think parenting for me and being a father has been my greatest teacher in every way, shape, or form from anything I've ever done. And I'd like to expound on that, and I'd like your take on it. I sort of had a context going in that my role as a father was sort of the disciplinarian and to be really strict and structured. And so early on in my children's lives, I sort of played that role.
Yeah.
But I started to realize that, hey, these kids are not stupid. They're really fucking smart. Like they have a lot more information than they can present to us. And we just think they're just like these little, inept little kids that need constant hand holding. And that's completely, even as a newborn baby, like if you actually think about like what a baby is when it first comes into this world. So parenting for me as a father has been a teacher for me in so many ways. And now that I'm a stepfather to a group of three other children, dude, if there's ever been a monumental task that I have was ill prepared to manage early on, it was raising someone else's kids. I had no clue what I was getting myself into. I just thought, hey, my wife and I, we really like each other. This is going to be easy peasy. Dude, completely different situation. Like I can't even tell you. And it's been a few years, and I feel like I've really started to be on the upside of this now. But early on, man, I was like my brain was just going in all these different directions and it caused friction and chaos. And I'm being open about this because my wife and I talk about this all the time. I think being involved as a parent and as a father and now as a stepfather has been my greatest teacher because it has changed so many perspectives that I held, long held beliefs around so many different things.
Yeah.
And I was wrong. I was completely wrong on how I showed up, both as a human, as an individual, as a partner, as a father, as a lover, and having the opportunity to fully embed myself in this has completely like changed my trajectory of my life. And so I'm
Yeah.
curious, like when you look at that parenting, fatherhood as a teacher, what are some of the lessons you've learned as a father from your children?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I became a father when I was 25 and 43 now. I don't have the same views I did at 25. Things have changed, right? So things I used to get really fired up over back then, I'm like, it's not really that big of a deal in hindsight. So you kind of evolve with it. And my daughter gets the more mature dad. She's 4.5 years younger by a little bit. So it's neat because I told my son the other day, I said, I got him to this interview and I was like, whatever happens beyond that, we've been working towards this for a long time, but I'm kind of done with the raising you part. I said, now it's like, if you got a question, you need something, let me know. It's like this new chapter, kind of this mentorship thing, which is interesting because I'm always like, this guy he's never here. He's always working and off with his girlfriend or his friends or whatever. But like you said, he'll send me a message and I'll be like, he was paying attention, right? He's asking me cool stuff. So,
Yeah.
with my daughter, she's about to be a sophomore, so she still needs a little bit of parenting, but I'm doing a little bit different with her than him because some of the things I'd really get fired up about, they just don't matter. So it's this evolution of things, and I like the father I'm becoming. I really
I
do
love that.
because I don't have the energy to get angry about stuff that I used to. The anger tank With business, it's there, but it's different, right? It's like, all right, let's make some change now. Let's go. But like the life anger jar, it's getting real low, bro. You're gonna have to like kick down my door to get me fired up or attack my family. But somebody spilling something or missing an assignment or whatever, like, hey, life goes on. We won't remember this in 3 months. So
Mm. I love that perspective. Those are some of the same impacts that I've had. So thanks for sharing that. What does intentionally inspirational mean to you? What does that phrase mean?
it's funny because when I quit, before I quit corporate the first time, I woke up out of a dead sleep. And it was about two, I think it was about 2:03 in the morning, or maybe it was 3:02. I may be transposing that. I woke up my wife. It's like, hey, Carmen, intentionally inspirational. She's like, what? I was like, I don't know what that means, but it's going to change our life.
Mm.
Right. And I thought I was going to be a motivational speaker. And it's funny because it comes full circle and I've been able to speak and stuff on stage. And anytime I get going, it comes out of me naturally. But the piece of that I look at every day and it reminds me, I've got a sign on my wall that says the company name too, but intentional. That's me. If you're going to describe me in one word, that's it. So it's a good reminder on how I live and where good things come from. So it's real important to kind of the core of everything I do.
Mm. Thanks for sharing that. When the dust settles and everything is sort of gone its way, what do you want people to say? A, how did you build this business? What do you want people to say about your business? And what do you want people, your family, your friends, those closest to you to say about you as an individual in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I want people to say this guy really cared. This guy really invested in the relationship, whether I was paying him or not. This guy said he was going to help me grow my business, and the guy did. I didn't understand a lot. He had to put in more time with me than his average client, but he did what he said he was going to do and then some. So I want the world to know I was here because their life or their business is impacted positively because of me.
To anyone listening to this podcast in a few weeks who is exhausted, they're doing everything they possibly can, they're building alone, they're in this silo, this lonely entrepreneur journey that you referenced earlier. What's the one thing you would want them to hear and take with them from this podcast?
You're not alone. Your experience is normal for the path you have chosen. So get some rest. If you're feeling super burned out, just walk away for a day. Walk away for a day, go do your recharge thing and come back. But remember what I said about there being a cost to everything. That's sometimes part of the cost.
And get a good bourbon and a cigar. Go by the pool and look at the banana leaves swaying to and fro. Sounds very waxing poetic to end our show,
Oh
doesn't it?
yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Dude, this has been a great conversation. This is the reason I do this podcast. I was asked that question yesterday. Why do I spend so much time and energy and money on this podcast? And I do spend a fuckload of time, energy, and money on this podcast. It's because I have the opportunity to speak to real builders like yourself, and we do a really good job of vetting who comes on the show because I want to talk to people who tell the truth. I want to talk to people who have been in the trenches, who have blood, sweat, and tears on their body. And I don't care about the wins, but I care about the process, the losses, the failures. I do care about the wins, but I want to hear about how you did what you did. And building a business isn't just about building a business, it's about how you show up as an individual, not a hollow, vapid soul who's just out to make money. So you were a very, very real characterization of an embodiment of that avatar. So thank you for showing up. I really do appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say one thing about something you said. I feel like it's important. In regards to wins and losses, everybody listening, no one's keeping score. Let that shit go. And I'm talking about the losses.
Hmm.
Right? Give yourself a pat on the back when you make a win. Even tiny wins are still wins, and that can help with the mental fatigue as well.
Hmm.
I'm not great at that, right? Sometimes I'm just so forward focused. I'm like, cool, let's roll. But
Hmm.
it's something important to remember.
The wins are important to me because they feel better. And not that it gives me validation, but it sort of tells me that I'm on the right track. But I will tell you that the losses ended up being my biggest gains.
That's
I
really
don't
important.
mean that to sound cliche,
Yeah,
but early in my career, I was completely blissfully, ignorantly, naively unaware of that concept. And I only viewed it as like a more reason to dig in and like fuck shit up because I lost.
yeah,
But it was in the losses in every way, shape, and form, from my divorce to everything else that's occurred, to a business that failed, to poor relationships. It was in that moment. afterwards, unfortunately, that I was introspective enough to realize that there was something that I could have learned from that opportunity, and that helped me shift and change the dynamic of how I operated going forward. And so it is really important to sort of have that mindset. So if you guys want more from Jason and you really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm sure you have, trust me, go check him out. He's on LinkedIn, Intentionally Inspirational. You drop some really cool knowledge. Is there any other way that people could find you that you would prefer?
No, I think the website's great. Intentionallyinspirational.com. You can find everything we're up to. That'll be changing here soon, but just new look and feel, that kind of thing.
And if this episode sparks something in you, again, if there's something you got from this conversation, please, on behalf of both Jason and myself, forward it to a fellow builder and share this conversation with them, because there's a lot of different ways that each of us take information and consume it and then prioritize it and use it for our life. And if there's something, and I know there's something that you've dropped in this conversation is useful, that's how we all grow. And we are a community. Let's not forget that. We are only as strong as the people we surround ourselves with, and we were not designed to live in silos. So take this information, use it at your own discretion, share it with somebody who might find it useful, and bro, let's do this. Hey, Jason, I really appreciate your time, man. Good show, good conversation. Thanks for showing up, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Branding Laboratory. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Connect with us on social media for more branding tips and insights. And remember, your story matters. Until next time, keep building and sharing your unique brand story. I'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in to the Branding Laboratory. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Connect with us on social media for more branding tips and insights. And remember, your story matters. Until next time, keep building and sharing your unique brand story. I'll see you soon.